Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building materials. Today, my co-host on the show is Ethan Young. How are you doing today, Ethan?
I'm doing good today, Todd. How about you?
You know, I got to confess, I've had kind of a tough week.
Sorry to hear it.
Yeah, my wife found out I was cheating on her after she found a bunch of letters I had hidden away.
Okay.
She's never going to play Scrabble with me again. Okay. So another
That's
one.
good. That's yeah.
You get two for the price of one today. How's
Sweet. Okay.
I was in an antique store the other day. Don't go to those very often, but back in the corner there was this huge wardrobe, and there was this guy back there just furiously working. He was stuffing a lion and a witch into the wardrobe.
Gosh.
And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "What are you up to?" He said, "Just move along, buddy. It's Narnia business."
Oh my gosh, that is terrible.
Okay. Hey, maybe we should just move on with the show. Actually, I do have something I want to share, though. So, on a bit more of an industry note, yesterday I attended a webinar that was part of a series put out by Qualified Remodeler magazine. And I'll tell you, these are fantastic. I think they do them either twice a year, maybe quarterly. And they feature John Burns Research and Consulting. Now, by the time this show airs, I know that this webinar is going to be available on YouTube. And what we'll do is we will try to remember and put it in the show notes. But we also will have a link to the webinar as soon as it's up on our Construction Disruption LinkedIn page. So I encourage everybody, check out our Construction Disruption LinkedIn page and subscribe to that, because we're always bringing additional information there as well. And I encourage anyone, if you're involved in remodeling or really any type of construction, you ought to check out what these folks at John Burns Research and Consulting are saying. Ethan, you probably remember one of our guests almost a couple years ago, hard to believe, was a gentleman by the name of Eric Finnegan, who works for John Burns. And great show, great guest. Need to make a note and have him back sometime. But he led most of the webinar yesterday. And there was so much great information, and I just want to share a few details here. And what Eric really researches for John Burns is the residential remodeling industry, and he just always has great insight, I think. So here are a few of the high-level takeaways I kind of got from the webinar yesterday I'd like to share. So it was interesting. He said that interest in and contracts for like large-scale, high-end home improvement projects are really slowing down for 2023. And I'd have to say that we're hearing that from some of the contractors we talk with as well. And what he said was that a lot of the remodeling projects that will be wrapping out, finished out through the rest of 2023 will be smaller projects, typically more non-discretionary projects. Like replacement projects, things that you got to get done when you got to get them done, which certainly roofing can be a part of that. But on the other hand, what he was saying about, maybe not a lot of high-end projects does make you wonder a little bit about higher-end metal roofs and things that we're involved in. Another thing he shared was that remodeling projects are going to be done less by people who have moved into new homes. And that was something that we saw a lot during COVID 2021, 2022, was a lot of folks were buying new homes and then immediately doing remodeling of them. And he said there's going to be less of that. And instead, a lot of the remodeling projects will be by people who are just staying in place in their existing home and, maybe upgrading, or like I said, maybe just doing those maintenance replacement product things that need to be done every once in a while. Now, the thing he still pointed out, though, was that, even with home values coming down a little bit here recently, there is still more equity held out there by homeowners than we have ever seen before. In fact, he put a figure up that just kind of blew my mind. He said the average home equity held by a homeowner is over $300,000, which just kind of blew my mind because I'm thinking that's more than the value of my house. So, but when you think about some of these markets, Southern California and so forth, where home values are $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million is kind of the norm. Kind of makes sense that some of those equity numbers have really climbed along with home values going up. But so despite him saying, hey, the end of 2023 may be a little soft for remodeling, he then wrapped up and was extremely optimistic about 2024 and beyond. And, he's not quite sure exactly when this will kick in 2024, but he says that that's going to start one of the strongest home improvement booms we've ever seen. Again, he's got lots of details we'll start sharing as soon as this webinar is up, public and free on YouTube. But some of the geographic areas he said would be really strong kind of surprised me. He pointed to the Pacific Northwest as being a real strong remodeling area coming up. He also mentioned the South Central, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, surrounding states. And he mentioned our own Midwest. One of the softer areas was the Northeast New England states, which the last few years has been one of the stronger areas for home improvements. So that kind of surprised me. He also noted that the available federal tax credits that just came out this year are going to help drive demand for energy efficient home improvements, and he sees those as having an impact on the overall home improvement market. Here's another thing he said that I thought was kind of interesting. I know I'm just blabbering on, guys, but he said that there's going to be more of a trend toward home improvement projects where the homeowner will hire a professional, but then they will also maybe do part of the project alongside the professional. So an example, you may hire somebody to build a new room, but maybe you do the painting, or maybe you even do the drywall finishing. And I thought that was really interesting. And when you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense for the contractor because they're dealing with labor shortages. So if they can take some of those easier tasks and pass them off to the homeowner saves money, has that satisfaction of being involved. I thought that was really interesting. So anyway, I thought it was good stuff. So again, check it out on our Construction Disruption LinkedIn page. We'll post there as soon as this full webinar is up on YouTube. But I encourage everybody who's interested in this, check out Qualified Remodeler Magazine on their website. You can sign up to get their newsletter, which will keep you informed of these webinars when they come available. So... did I say enough? Can I take a nap now? That wouldn't be a bad deal. I do want to share, we are doing our challenge words.
Yep.
So both Ethan and I, and also our guest, have an extra special word given to them by one of the others that they are challenged to work into the conversation here today. So listen for those, and at the end, we'll tell you what our words were and whether we were successful. We're always successful. We're winners on construction disruption. Anyway, so today what we really want to look at is the importance and the how of improving efficiencies for contractors. And so we want to dig into what disruptive and new technologies are available to help efficiencies, and also what benefits contractors can enjoy by, living into these efficiencies. And so to that end, our guest today is Aaron Henderson of STACK Construction Technologies. Aaron, welcome to Construction Disruption.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're looking forward to a good conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about you too, but can you give us an overview to start of what STACK does?
Yeah, absolutely. So STACK, we're obviously STACK Construction Technologies. We've been around for about 10 years. in our really core business, where we really started was with takeoff and estimating. So the whole pre-construction phase of a construction project. More recently, actually, in the last couple of years, we've acquired a couple of products that have taken us into the actual execution of projects as well. So actually managing projects out in the field. So we're really working toward kind of this end-to-end solution where a contractor can start with their estimate, getting to a budget, and then be able to push all that information that they're gathering during pre-construction out to the field, to be able to manage projects more efficiently. So kind of that holistic sort of solution for a contractor.
What brought you to Stack? I mean, what's your background and how did you end up where you are today?
Kind of unique, probably, I guess, to a lot of people in the industry. So I actually came out of college with a construction management degree and a business management degree, and really never realized that the two would actually cross over. I definitely realized kind of through that process, I'm more of a business guy probably than I am a construction guy, but became really, really passionate about construction through that. And was really fortunate after school, was connected with one of the few consulting firms that actually focus on the trades. And so I spent the better part of a decade working on strategic consulting and operational efficiency for contractors across the country. So worked with architects, engineers, contractors from 5-10 person shops clear up to a lot of the ENR top 10 contractors across the country. It's kind of interesting too. A lot of the same issues that I saw with some of the small contractors are the exact same ones that we saw with the largest. But really, really passionate kind of about that back end business side of construction. And so, through that whole thing, realized that technology is a place that we could bring a lot of efficiency. And so about 5 years ago, was introduced to a technology company and came over to the technology side. And then more recently here with Stack, just trying to see how we can leverage technology to help contractors. So be as efficient as we can and be successful.
So do you find that, oftentimes these efficiencies can, or I should say lack of efficiencies can, make or break it for contractors on projects? Is that kind of what your experience was, in your previous life as you kind of watched others?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of people that, I hear a lot of, that's always the way we've done things, here and those kinds of things. And so we have a lot of like incredibly brilliant people. And so, and we put a lot on their backs. But what we start to realize is when everybody's doing stuff kind of their own way, that can only be so efficient. So as we can kind of start to standardize things and find ways to help scale organizations, that's what we're really looking for and trying to figure out how we can replicate kind of the best of the best, time and time again. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about, who your typical users or customers are at Stack. I mean, what is your typical client, one of the larger firms or smaller? How many total users do you have out there? I'm just kind of curious to that.
Yeah, so we've got a really good user base, primarily US focused, but just ran a report the other day that we've actually got users across about 32 different countries, I guess internationally as well. So kind of cool, yeah. But a really, really heavy focus in the States. We primarily focus on the trade contractor, which is a little unique. There's a lot of software out there that is focused for years on general contractors. But we're really focused to the sub trades. We tend to be what we call trade agnostic. So we work across a lot of different trades. So everything from roofing contractors to, interiors folks that are doing drywall and painting and those kinds of things. Concrete is a really big trade for us as well. And a typical contractor can be everything from a small residential, maybe a couple people, clear up to, we have one of the largest roofing contractors in the entire country that's leveraging Stack to do their projects as well.
Very interesting. So what's involved when someone starts you? I mean, what is their ramp up time before they've, learned the program and they're able to use it and they've, set it up however it needs to be set up for them? What's that look like?
Yeah, so it's it's interesting because a lot of the contractors that come to us, we have a lot that are using some kind of a technology already, especially like on the takeoff and estimating side. but there's a lot of folks out there that are still kind of doing things by hand, and so they still might be doing things paper and pen and those kinds of things. And I had a really interesting case probably about a year ago. We had a big fire protection contractor out of the Chicago area, and what's really cool is we try to mimic the things that people are used to doing as close as we, kind of by hand as we can in the digital world, right? And so it was really cool. What we actually did with this group was we had them, one of their best estimators who was used to doing everything by hand, and we literally watched his exact workflow of how he laid out the plan and how he went and he drew and he took things off and he, did all of his estimating that way. And then we took that and we mimicked that exactly in kind of the digital environment within Stack. And it was really cool just to kind of see him light up. I mean, this guy's a pretty seasoned individual who'd been doing it his way, for probably 40 years. I think he was getting pretty close to retirement. And it was really cool to kind of see him light up and see like, hey, when I draw that line with my highlighter to take off that line or whatever, he was doing the exact same thing. He's just using a mouse and a keyboard instead of the way that he's doing it. So we spend a lot of time with what we call like user experience, and it's understanding how we can make the software as easy to use as we can for the people who are out there doing it. I mean, there's a lot of people in construction didn't grow up with computers or like using computers. That's why we got into construction. And so we want to make the experiences as easy as we can. So we do that. And we have a lot of folks that are able to get into Stack and really start using it day one. I mean, we've got trainers and people that will work with you. But we've even got like kind of a free trial environment where people can log in, and we have a lot of folks that get in and they're able to, start doing some simple takeoffs and estimates, almost right away, which is pretty cool.
Wow. That's really cool that you brought that up, because I think that's one of the questions we always like to ask when we kind of interview people about technologies, because we know sometimes people can be hesitant with trying new technologies and stuff. So when it's smooth like that, that makes a big difference. And yeah, I think that's really cool that you guys, try and get it perfect right to how they do it. So
yeah, we as close as we can. I mean, we don't always, we're not always perfect, but we try to get as close as we can. And like I said, it's really cool. I mean, the young people coming into the industry are really kind of demanding more technologies. And we see that a lot too, is, they don't, somebody that's 20, 30 years old doesn't want to come in and see a software that looks like it was, made in the 80s. Yeah. So they're asking for it. And then, we've got a lot of folks who, again, are a little more seasoned, and just trying to make it as easy for them as well. It's been pretty cool.
Very interesting. Well, I want to switch and talk a little bit more specifically about supply chain. And I think supply chain is interesting because it's a phrase that many of us didn't even use before 2020 or 2021. Purchasing was just kind of a routine thing that happened and didn't require all kinds of hand-wringing and gnashing of teeth. How does Stack help companies with supply chain issues? And do you have any specific success stories you could even share with us?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think first things first is the exactly what you said, Todd. We didn't talk that, as important as procurement is and getting the right materials, the right time, and all that kind of stuff. As long as I've been around construction, it just wasn't a term we talked about. It just generally were there, and we didn't, have all the problems that we're facing with it today. So some of the things that we're doing is, one, it's an area that we focus a lot of time and attention to. As much as we can get things right in the pre-construction phase of a project and get the right team lined up and get the right materials lined up, we obviously want to try to help to do that. So some of the biggest things that we do at Stack is, number one, as you're kind of creating your estimate, you're actually getting your bill of materials. So you can actually see every single sheet of sheetrock or, square of roofing, everything that you've got that you're going to use for that project. And then from there, we try to make it as easy as we can to get that out to, your suppliers and vendors, to start to get quotes back, as fast and efficient as we can. But some of the biggest stuff is we're actually able to collect some of that data and start to see sort of our backlog of projects that we have upcoming. And it really gives our contractors the ability to start to say, hey, look, this is the volume of project that we see kind of coming our way. And it does a couple things. One, it helps them to start to procure the material as early as they can. But two, it also kind of gives them an opportunity to start to negotiate a little bit more, maybe sometimes with suppliers, when they say, hey, we've got, not just this one project that we want pricing for, but we've got maybe these 10, 15, 20 projects. Or if it's a larger contract, maybe across multiple regions, they have some additional kind of bargaining power that way too. So I think just trying to forecast as much as we can of what's coming and when, and then being able to try to start to procure material as early as we can in that process is where we're really trying to help folks.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I know that, we as a manufacturer, one of the things that we found ourselves doing a lot during the height of the supply chain issues, and, fortunately, we're not having huge issues with it today, but I know some segments still are. But one of the things we started doing was asking our customers, hey, if you got a project coming up, tell us as soon as you sign that contract, what you need and, when it might be. And it wasn't horribly unusual for them to do that previously, but typically it was just like, yeah, I've got a job this color about this many squares. And, then suddenly we're asking them, look, I need to know how many pieces of starter, how many hip gaps, how many ridge gaps, how many pieces of valley. And, the funny thing is, many of them, and some of them did do it with the help of technology, but many of them are still doing that. And I think ultimately it's making them a more streamlined, more efficient company because of that practice, even though maybe in our case, they wouldn't have to still be doing it that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing that we do, especially in the pre-construction side, is as you're kind of doing your takeoff, Stack not only will get you your quantity of whatever material you're measuring, but we have what we call assemblies that are built in as well. And assemblies will pull all the different materials, or if you're measuring a ridge, it's going to tell you everything that you need along with it. And I think the other thing that that does is sometimes there's parts and pieces of a project we may kind of forget until it's too late or until we're actually out there on site. And so it's another one of those things where it's telling us, hey, don't forget to include this in your estimate and in your bid, and just making sure that you're getting all that early. The other thing too, I think, is a really big opportunity for the industry as a whole, and some of where we're headed and things that we're looking at a little bit are because we are a cloud-based product, and there's a lot of different interconnectivity that we can have between builders and contractors and suppliers and manufacturers. Is the more we can kind of start to connect these things early, so that, like you said, Todd, the minute that, hey, we've actually secured that contract, and if you can start to see that maybe across different regions and things like that, it probably helps you guys as a manufacturer. Now, hey, we see a lot happening maybe in the Southeast, and we need to make sure that we get material to that area. So I think the more connected we can be between the contractors, the suppliers, and the manufacturers, I think there's a really big efficiency to be had there that's happening across a lot of other industries, maybe a little bit faster than what's happening in construction right now. But I definitely see us kind of moving in that direction, which is a good thing.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. So how about the, big topic all the time in construction is the labor shortage. How does Stack help companies, find their way through the skilled labor shortage?
Yeah, I think just trying to leverage technology as much as we can to get as much done with the limited resources that we have, right? So, if we can give that average contractor, just some extra, almost be like that administrative person kind of behind the scenes for them, that just lets us do a little bit more, maybe with a little bit less. So, we're definitely, trying to help make everybody as efficient as we possibly can. The other side of it too is we're really trying to leverage technology to show people who, especially young folks who may be early in their career decisions, trying to decide where to go. Is a lot of times we have kind of a different view of construction, but when you start to look at technology and the office jobs and the different positions that there actually are in construction, really trying to encourage more people to come into the construction industry as well. And I think as we can be more innovative and we can start to find, different opportunities, I think it just makes construction maybe more appealing to more people, which is a good thing too.
Well, I really like that and really hadn't even thought about that, but you're absolutely right. The more we can make our industry something that younger folks say, hey, there may be a place for me in that.
You bet.
That's what we really need, no doubt about it.
Well, one of the funniest things I think is I've talked to people about this all the time, but it's funny as kids we grow up, playing with Tonka trucks and toys, and everybody's wearing contractor uniforms as a kid. Somewhere along the way, it maybe loses its luster, and it's just something that we got to keep people interested in. It's a cool industry, it's a fun industry, and just kind of keep people excited about it. So
yeah. Couple episodes ago, we had Jared Ribble on. He's with National Roofing Contractors Association and talked a lot about this whole topic. But, one of the things that they're doing over there is the development of the pro certification program, just to kind of raise, the status of people who enter these trades.
absolutely.
And one of the things I love what you're doing, because anytime I can enter a trade and also get trained in technology and some software program and be able to have that carry with me throughout my career, that's a real plus. So it's good stuff.
You bet.
It's really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot that we're doing. I mean, it's safety and all these different things, and I think we really need to give contractors the credit that they deserve. I think sometimes those certifications and those types of things are things that can be pretty beneficial. So.
Yeah. I love it because, one of the things we talked about with Jared was, I think roofing in particular, people think is just kind of a putrid career, something they don't want to enter. But yet, how can we elevate that? And as Jared kept saying, yeah, you go out and stand in the rain and tell me that roofing isn't important. That was a good point.
Yeah.
Well taken.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, how about, some of the things we've seen the last few years with price fluctuations? How can Stack help companies deal with that? Fluctuations that may occur both ways. For a while, it seemed like everything was going up. Now a few things are coming down. Most things are staying pretty stable, but.
Yeah, it's definitely. I know it does feel like it's leveling off maybe a little bit, but still more fluctuation than we've are historically used to. So
Absolutely.
I think for us, some of the biggest stuff is just making sure again that we're getting the right materials for the job early on. That we're getting those, that we're getting those, that we're negotiating early with our suppliers. And then hopefully we're getting some decent terms on those as well. I know there were points kind of through some of those fluctuations where suppliers maybe were only guaranteeing pricing for days and weeks when we were used to months. So if is making sure that we're getting the right quote early on, and then hopefully negotiating well and have some good relationships with our suppliers and manufacturers.
Well, are there any other areas of technology that you see impacting construction in coming years? I mean, things coming down the pike, or maybe key things that contractors, subcontractors, the trade should be watching for and paying attention to in regards to technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's there's a lot around just kind of the standard operational type things. A lot of what we're doing, at Stack, and a lot of the other softwares and things that are out there, from project management and estimating, those kinds of things, of course. But I think you can't hardly talk today about technology in construction or anywhere without talking about AI and some of the things that are happening with AI.
Yep.
So some really really cool opportunities with it, I think. I've heard multiple people ask me, is AI going to replace me? And, these different things. I like to tell everybody, I mean, it's interesting where it might go. I think AI to me today is a tool, right? It's just something, it's like a calculator, maybe, back in the day. Is AI is this tool. And I don't think AI is necessarily replacing any of us today. I think people who are willing to leverage AI might replace us if we're not willing to. So I just think we have to look at it as a tool. There's some really, really cool stuff happening with it, though. I mean, and the other thing I like to think is that if AI can do some of the more repetitive things, it frees me up to do the things that I can, really focus my time and attention to, that maybe have a bigger impact than just simple data entry and some of that. So I see AI. I think some of the things that are happening with prefabrication are really cool. It feels like there's a really big opportunity with prefab. So some cool stuff there. I think the cloud in general, just everybody kind of moving to the cloud, especially post-COVID. Teams are moving a little bit more remote and things like that. So just cloud collaboration, being able to work with people maybe across different areas and things has been a really big deal. We still, especially on the pre-construction side, see a decent amount of on-prem software, which when I think on-prem software, like loading something with a CD or something, like it just sounds kind of archaic when I'm used to my Netflix and Google and Amazon and stuff. But we still in the trades, we still see it a good bit. So, I think we
Wow.
are quickly, especially post-COVID, starting to see a lot of that move, be more cloud-based, collaborative, and those kinds of things too. So, yeah, there's a ton of really cool stuff. Some stuff with like drones and those kinds of things for, especially in roofing. I'm sure, you guys are seeing it,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
doing aerial images and being able to get estimates and quotes from aerial images and that kind of thing. We're seeing people use drones for safety and inspections and a lot of different stuff there as well. So yeah, it's a fun time, and I feel like we've been maybe a little slower than some industries to adopt technology, but I feel like we're really starting to ramp up. So it's a cool time to be in construction tech.
Absolutely. I hadn't really thought about that before, but, all of a sudden pandemic hit and, all of us were forced to learn Zoom and different platforms like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there was a fear that somehow that hurt communication or hurt collaboration, but I think you're spot on. I think it helps collaboration because it has allowed us and opened our worlds up to now where we can work with people very naturally who are states away or even countries away. And so lots of exciting stuff happening out there. I agree.
It really is, and it's. I think the thing I've been seeing most, just about kind of the remote work and that kind of thing, is there's a lot of people calling it maybe like this failed experiment or these different things. And I think we're still learning. Like I think we're still really early in this space and in this idea. And I think Stack's a great example. I mean, we have a really strong concentration of folks at our headquarters in Cincinnati, but we've got some of the best talent in the world that's out there in some of our remote offices and remote individuals. So just finding sometimes the diamond in the rough, finding those people that we maybe wouldn't have found otherwise, or some of the best talent that may not even be close to one of our offices that we're able to leverage. We see it a lot in estimating, where we maybe have a really strong estimating group in this region of the country, who's able to help out and train and work with people in different areas and things like that. So, I think it's something that's maturing. I think we're learning to manage better remote. I think people will talk about maybe some lost creativity and some of the loss of the osmosis that happens in an office. But I think as we learn to leverage technologies more, we might be able to find ways to actually get more creative and be able to do better knowledge transport for remotely. So I'm kind of excited to see where that all goes.
Oh, good stuff. You certainly paint a picture that's very forward thinking and optimistic and exciting. I agree with you. So, um, any advice you have out there for our listeners who maybe are newer to careers in design or construction? What are some ways you would recommend or practices you recommend for them that would really help to ensure their success in, this really hugely vibrant industry we're a part of?
I think some of the biggest stuff I see right now, and I've really started to hear some great conversation around this, but is this idea of kind of embracing change. I think, I've again, I kind of started with, we hear a lot in construction of like, that's the way we've always done things around here, that old school kind of way of thinking. And I think some of that may come from kind of, we tend to be a male centric, kind of male dominated industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as guys, a lot of times failure is kind of this thing that we don't want to fail. We're kind of like raised to not fail and to be strong and all these things. And I think there's this element of learning that failure is kind of part of the process. And any time that you're changing and evolving, there's going to be an element of failure. And I think there's this idea of learning to try to fail fast, fail forward, move quickly. But I think for people coming up in the industry, some of the strongest construction leaders that I see right now, they're willing to try new things. They're willing to kind of go outside the box. And I think some of the people maybe that aren't willing to be a little bit more innovative will start to fall behind faster and faster. So I would just encourage everybody just to be looking for new opportunities. It doesn't mean you have to jump on every single one, but at least just be open-minded to it, and just kind of have more of a growth mindset as opposed to kind of that old static mindset maybe that we've always had. So
Love it. Very
Yeah,
good.
that's some great advice.
Well, this has been great, Aaron. Thank you so much. We really are close to wrapping up what we call the business end of things. Is there anything we haven't covered today that you want to be sure to include or share with our audience?
No, I mean, I guess maybe just kind of riding on that change component. I'm a really big advocate for technology and what it can do for companies. So if there's anything I can do for the listeners out there, or anything we can be doing, we're here, happy to kind of look at where things are at and see if there's any way we can help. So if people are looking for advice or need anything at all, happy to help any way that we can.
Well, that's great. I'm going to ask you for it again, but why don't you go ahead and give us your contact information?
Yeah, you bet. So anybody's more than welcome to reach out to me. So our website is StackCT, like constructiontechnology.com. My email is ahenderson@stackct.com. And please feel comfortable reaching out, emailing anytime. I'm happy to help however I can.
Great. Well, before we do close out, I have to ask you if you'd like to participate in something we call rapid fire. So these are 7 questions. Some may be a little serious, some are a little silly. All you have to do is give a quick answer to each, whatever comes to mind, or a long answer. We don't care.
Yeah.
So are you feeling up to the challenge of rapid fire today, Aaron?
All right, let's go, Tom. Let's do it.
Nice.
I'm in.
Cool. Well, we will alternate. You want to ask the first question, Ethan?
Yeah, I could start. Question 1. So what's a product that you've purchased recently that's been kind of a disruptor for you, of kind of like a where has this been all my life kind of thing? Do you have something like that?
Yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if this is like totally like revolutionary, but this is the new thing that I'm like really into.
Hmm.
So I've always been a gas powered tool
Yeah,
person,
okay.
and I've recently gotten really on board, and not to give props to any one brand, but I've really gotten on board with the DeWalt, like all the yard tools that are electric,
Mm-hmm.
battery powered. And I got to say, I've been absolutely blown away by how far they've come. As a guy who was like always mixing gas and doing all that stuff, really, really impressed by these by the battery powered tools. So that'll be my game changer, I guess, for me at least.
That's interesting because I remember when I first became a homeowner, I was buying some of those electric battery powered things, and man, they just didn't last well at all. And so that was always frustrating with them. But yet,
Uh-huh.
I didn't like lugging around the gas powered and having to mix gas and oil and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I was
Yeah, I got to tell you oh, sorry, Ethan.
Oh no, I was just saying it reminded me my stepdad recently just got like an electric riding mower, which is kind of crazy to me to
Wow.
think about, but it's the
Yeah.
same vein. I don't know. It runs great. It's super quick, does great, but I would have never thought, that would have been what we would have done.
Yeah,
But
I mean, back in the day, it seemed like if it was battery powered, it was kind of throwaway. And I think the first thing I got was the electric blower, and then now I've got a garage full of battery powered stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Good stuff. Well, question number 2. This is a little more serious even than that. What would you ultimately like to be remembered for?
Yeah, I guess kind of maybe the Steve Jobs thing of just sort of making a dent. But I think, just for me, it's kind of unique that I got into the construction trades the way that I did. And for me, it's just hopefully having an impact on the industry. I would love to think that after me, maybe construction's a little bit better just because of something that I did or one of the companies I worked with did. So I think just having an impact.
No doubt you are and will continue to. That's good. Good stuff.
alrighty, question 3. Would you rather have the ability to see 10 minutes into the future or 10 years into the future?
Oh, that's concerning. Wow. Let's see. It starts to make me think of all the AI conversation, all the crazy stuff that's going on. That's kind of fun. I want to go 10 years, man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm a strategy guy, so the further out I can see, I can kind of maybe back into what I do in the next 10 minutes or next little bit if I can see a little further out. I'm going to go 10 years.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
I like that answer. We asked someone else that, and they said 10 minutes, didn't they, Ethan? Am I right on
I think
that?
they did, yeah.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me because I would definitely be the bigger picture 10 years, but yet when they explained their reasoning for 10 minutes, it kind of made sense to me too.
I can kind of see it, like you're just always like one step ahead, right? And
Yeah.
Well,
I can see that maybe.
you do really well with the lottery, I guess. So
That's-
Yeah.
I was thinking kind of the Back to the Future, Todd, where he like goes and gets the sports almanac from the
Oh yeah.
future.
Oh,
That's
that's
what I'm
right.
doing with the 10 years. So,
Yeah.
There you
Gotcha.
go.
Okay, next question. I think it's my turn. What is your favorite meal?
and I'm a little basic that way. I'm like a steak and potatoes guy. So, whether it's a good steak restaurant or it's just off the grill here, steak and potatoes can't beat it.
Cool.
Alrighty. Do you have a bucket list vacation?
One of the big ones I've always wanted to do is I've been able to do a decent amount of international travel, but Greece has always been up there. I think the
Ooh.
whole the Greek islands and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
That's always been yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Next to last question. If you were a professional wrestler, what would be your walkout song?
Oh man, that's hard. Oh geez,
I think
man, I
Ethan
don't
came
know.
up with that question a while back.
Yeah, I found that one somewhere and I was like, that's a cool question. I liked it.
That is a tough one, man.
It
I mean,
is.
I'm gonna go with like something like it's gonna be something like really tough if you're a wrestler, right? Like so, I can't think of anything specific. I'll say it's like some Eminem like that, that
Yeah,
whole
okay.
like some really tough kind of gangster type deal.
Makes sense.
All right, last question. Are you blessed with any hidden talents?
So I've got some odd. This is a little embarrassing to share, but I've got some odd circus level talents. So
Hmm.
I'm a really good juggler. I can actually juggle really really well. So that's
That's
probably
Very
admirable.
cool.
I don't
Yeah.
share that with a lot of people, but now I've got the whole all the listeners now know all about it.
Yeah, they got you now.
That is admirable. Cool stuff. I like
I
that.
don't know about that though.
This has been great. Well, and so we have to look at our challenge words. I think we were all successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Ethan, you got yours in there right the
Oh,
last
I
minute.
did.
Your
That was
word
incredible.
was,
Yeah, my word was blessed, so I snuck it in right there at the end. Yeah.
the
Right at
funny
the end.
thing is, I came this close to flipping those last two questions and asking that one
Oh,
instead
that
of
would have
you.
been, yeah, I would have had to get creative then.
And I don't know why. I just was like, oh, I think I want to switch questions.
Yeah,
Well, partly because the wrestling question was your question. I felt bad asking it.
fair enough, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Aaron, your word was diamond,
Diamond.
which you worked
Yeah,
in.
well,
And
diamond in the rough.
I didn't even
Nice.
notice
Yeah.
that you did it so well until, oh, yes, he did.
Yeah.
And the word that I had, which Aaron gave me, was putrid. So I got that thrown
Putrid.
in there
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Putrid's good. That was tough. You did a nice job though. Worked you right in.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great episode. I'm sure our listeners have enjoyed it. So, one more time, for folks who want to get in touch with you or to learn more about Stack Construction Technologies, how can they best do that?
Yep. Aaron Henderson, A Henderson at stackct.com. And here, however I can help.
And just stackct.com. Sounds good.
That's it.
Well, this has been great, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I want to thank our audience for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with special guest Aaron Henderson of STACK Construction Technologies. Again, look for his contact information also in the show notes. And I encourage you, please watch for future episodes of our show. We're always blessed with great guests, just like Aaron. Don't forget to leave a review, please, on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. We appreciate those. Until the next time we're together, though, keep on challenging, keep on disrupting, doing all you can to make things better and to find better ways of doing things. And don't forget to have a positive impact on everyone you encounter. Make them smile, encourage them, powerful, yet pretty simple things that we can all do. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.